Welcome back. Hey, Technical Brad here. All right, so today we're going to do a little bit of service type maintenance on our 1966 David Brown 880A Select-O-Matic. The 880A is the live drive version, has the live drive clutch in it, clutch system. This is the AD355 diesel engine, and we're going to pull our valve cover off, and we're going to check out our valve clearances in here. First thing we got to do, this is the early style engine. This is a 1966. The 880 in this configuration ran from 65 to 71. So this is the second year of production for the white and brown version of the 880. The 880 started in 61, and you had a red and yellow version up till 64, and in 65 we had the design change. So this is 2 years into the production of it. This has the early style engine breather on it, and we'll get into that once we get this thing apart. But we have to undo the nut there so that we can take this pipe off. This is tied into our air breather system up front here, into the canister of that. So all we have to do, hopefully, is loosen the nut up, like so. Big old nut. We loosened up in front here. It ties into our canister. So now we've loosened that up, we can remove our pipe by sliding it off of there and bring the radiator blind. And then it draws air through this system here, pulls in because of the air being sucked in from the engine, and that ventilates the system. So next thing we need to do is take off the acorn nuts. There's 4 of them that hold the valve cover on. And that is an acorn nut, named because of its shape. There are copper washers below the nut to help seal it. And get it off of here. To help seal it from the oil coming out of it. And this, give it a little wiggle here. So, as we see inside, we're in pretty good shape inside of it there. Clean that all off, and this is the valve train. Okay, so we're going to set the valve clearance on our system here. To adjust that, you've got a nut or a screw bolt here that goes through the rocker with a lock nut on it. This goes down into the push rod. And the system for doing that is you're going to roll the engine. And you're going to do that by hand. I have a wrench in front here with the shaft for my hydraulic pump going through into the engine compartment here. And what you're going to do, and it's going to be very hard to see, we're watching these front 2 valves and how they move. And you can see that they are both moving. As I roll this back and forth, barely see it, but they're both moving. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we want to have them both about the same position or so, because that way they're both in contact. So with the number 1 cylinder, with the valves rocking as they call it, we can check the number 2 inlet, which is this one, and the number 3 exhaust, which is this one. And so what we're going to do, the exhaust is 7,000, so we have our feeler gauge here, and we're going to put the feeler gauge between the rocker and the valve, like so. And we have 7 thousandths in there. And we can see it sliding through. It'll actually slide all the way through. So as it slides all the way through, and we see it right down there all the way through between the tip of the rocker and the top of the valve. And we see that's 7 thousandths there. So we check the inlet on this one, which is supposed to be at 10 thousandths. And we will slide it, if we can find it, right there. And there we see again. So if we look down here, we can see that it is all the way through. It's through there, and it is at 10 thousandths. And by the valves rocking, if we can see, you're going to watch these two valves here. As I move this, we can see that both valves are moving. So the intake and the exhaust are moving. So you want to have them both set to where they're both about the same distance, so they're both coming in the same contact. And then you can check this one and this one. Now we'll roll it over and we'll do it again so that we can check the other one. So now we have number 2 rocking, as we see, hopefully, that they're both moving. And we put them down to where they're both about the same. And then with number 2 rocking, so number 3 inlet, number 1 exhaust. The exhaust is 7. We have that pretty good. Number 1, or the inlet, is 10. There again, pretty good. So as we look at it, we can see our feeler gauge through there, the 10 thousandths. That's on our exhaust. And then up here, number 1 intake, or no, number 1 exhaust. That was the intake on number 3. And here we have the number 1 exhaust going through there. So now we roll it over to where we get number 3 back here rocking, and we'll be able to do the number 1 inlet and the number 2 exhaust, which is that one. So these two will be the ones we'll be able to do this thing. Do that. And we can see both of them are rocking again. You can move the engine back and forth to get this lined up. So we'll get it to where they're both the same. And now we can do the number 1 inlet, which is 10 thousandths. Get them back. And the number 2 exhaust, which is of course 7 thousandths. And they all check out. So after 280 hours, the thing has stayed locked where it was supposed to as far as our adjustments here. And yeah, that's good to go. So we'll do the vent breather next, and then we'll be able to reinstall the valve cover. All right, so we will put the valve cover back on, and we have a new gasket, a cork gasket. We'll start by sliding that on here. Just drop that down all the way around. We're missing our bolts and all that. Take our valve cover, position that, Make sure that our gasket, this is the edge over here, the main edge you gotta look out for, because it's the one that gives you fits. Like I say, you want to make sure that this gasket is tucked in to the opening where it's supposed to be. There, like that. And we'll try it again. Take two, huh? Take two and call me in the morning. There, now that's fitting on there better. Yeah. Our studs are sticking up. Since we're back here, it's not. Put our copper washers on here. Followed by the acorn nuts, of course. Snug them up a little bit. Scratch my paint. Doggone it. Not too much. I mean, you don't want to distort the thing, but you want it to compress the copper seals here. These have to be compressed a little bit. And of course the gasket itself you want to compress. All right. We're in pretty good shape. So we have the air breather system here. Like I say, this is a 1966. This is the early version of the air breather. And basically what we have is a filter that's in there. This catches the oil, and there are holes drilled in here. So you're sucking it in through here, through this pipe down through here, and then any oil that gets trapped is going to drain back down through these return holes. And then this has got a little check valve in there that gets moved once the engine is running and you have, you know, the air pulling through it. Now I located a new filter. This is 907110 is the part number. I got this from eBay. It came out of Israel, the country of Israel. I believe there was a company there was a case dealer that was in business for like 40 years, and they closed down back in the early 2000s, I believe it was, and they had all this inventory, so they started an eBay store with David Brown parts, and they had quite a bit of stuff for the old 880. This is also the place where I got the rubber boot for the power steering arm, the ram cylinder. So we're putting a new filter in here. We've got our gasket there. We've got a gasket up here too, as well, that will seal the pipe once it's on here. Put that on. We want to make sure that that is sealed up in there. We have our pipe right here. And we'll snake that back through the radiator, and it will thus slide on. And what you have to do is you got to line the other end up into the fitting that is in the air breather before you get it to drop on like it just did. We have another little seal on that, and then our nut. Tighten that up. With our wrench, snug it up. You have to slide the end of the pipe right here into its fitting to get it to line up and fit in there. If it's not going in here, then it'll be too long essentially. So that's just a little trick if you have this old style engine breather system. And that's what it consists of. But yeah, I found that part, it was last winter I was looking at stuff, and I tell you what, I've been researching the David Brown, the 880 since 2019. And there were parts that were not available in 20 and 21 and all the subsequent years that are available now. There are parts that were available back in 19 and 20 that you can't get now. So if you're looking for parts for a David Brown, any particular model, it's a good idea every couple of months to look it up again. And there may be some out there. Like I say, that company out of Israel, there's companies here in the US that basically scrap them. And like I said, the 880 became the 885 in 72, ran for several years there in the 70s. Also the Case 380 Construction King, the loader backhoe system, that was based off of the 885. And so a lot of those parts are interchangeable, and that's where we got our inlet manifold, of course, that we installed earlier. So yeah, just keep searching and it may turn up eventually.